Hello. The 8035 is Qualcomm's mobile system on a chip SoC, which contains all the key ingredients that sit at the heart of a smartphone. This includes the CPU, graphics processor, Wi-Fi, and 4G modems, sound hardware, and sensor hubs, among others. It's the successor to the Snapdragon 821, which launched 2016 as a minor improvement to the 820. Found in many of 2016's top-end phones, including the Samsung Galaxy S7, OnePlus 3T, and HTC 10, this was the pinnacle of Android smartphone chipsets in 2016. But now there's a new king. On paper, the Snapdragon 835 offers significant differences over the 821. Physically, it's much smaller, which is a result of the push into a 10 nanometer production process from the 821's 14 nanometer process. This sounds complicated, but in simple terms, the reduction in process size means that the chip's transistors, the yes-no gates that do all the work, can be packed much closer together. This can lead to more efficient running, which in turn results in lower power consumption, less heat, and better performance across the board. For example, the reduction in size of the chip also means greater flexibility for the smartphone manufacturers to add slightly larger batteries or make slightly thinner phones.
And from here, I will go on and we will talk about basically how the Qualcomm Snapdragon 835 works. Basically, Snapdragon is not technically a CPU or GPU. It is more like system on the chip. It is made up from a whole bunch of different components. There is a CPU with multiple cores. Chip also has a graphic processing unit, which is a GPU, display processing unit, which is also known as DPU, video processing unit, which is known as BPU, and also lots of wireless modems like X16 LTE modem, which basically packs more beats per transmission with 200, 800, 256 QAM, receives data on 4 antennas through 4x4 MIMO and supports for up to 4 times carrier aggregation, all of which come together to achieve download speeds of up to 1 gigabits per second. Qualcomm Snapdragon 835 is also equipped with Hexagon, which is the brand name for a family of digital signal processors, which is DSP, products by Qualcomm. So Hexagon is also known as DSP6, standing for the 6th generation digital signal processor. According to Qualcomm, the Hexagon architecture is designed to deliver performance with a low power. Additionally, it also comes with wireless connections like Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and as well as GPS, which you can see on the slides, in this side, in the top corner. Let's move to the next slide, which is about the battery life. Qualcomm says that on average, the 835 will use around 25% less power than its successors like 821, which will lead to a direct increase to a battery life. Of course, this relies on the phone makers actually using these decent capacity cells in their handset instead of choosing slimmer designs with lower capacity. So, for instance, if we make a bigger phone, we can make a better battery. But if we make a slimmer phone and a smaller phone, it will also lead to a less battery efficiency, right? In some tasks, such as recording like high resolution video and rendering like 3D games, the 835 is up to 30% more efficient than its previous successor. So we can clearly see some development here. For the Quick Charge 4, which is also included in the Qualcomm Snapdragon 835, is one of the biggest achievements in that time, which was in 2017. If you thought that Quick Charge 3 was speedy in that times, the Quick Charge 4, is quicker, up to 25% faster while managing the 30% better efficiency. I think that's great, right? So that extra speed will not result in added heat. This is good news for those of us who charge their phones in the vicinity like of pillows near the bed, with complete disregard for battery safety. It's not safe, guys. Better performance, which is also in the Snapdragon 835. It uses an updated version of the Cairo CPU, known as 280. The CPU has 8 cores and is based on ARM's Big Little design. It's actually called Big Little design. Factory fresh, the 4 big cores run at 2.45 gigahertz for snappy performance, while the 4 little cores run at 1.9 gigahertz for those background tasks that do not require huge power, like small tasks. So smartphone manufacturers have the final say when it comes to how the cores are actually utilized, which is why you will see a range of benchmark scores from each phones that uses the Cairo 280 CPU. It actually depends on how they design it. So yeah, it basically also depends on the phone designers. The Adreno Adreno 540, which you can see on this slide in the top right corner of the Snapdragon 835, is said to be 25% more powerful than its predecessor in the 3D performance. So your games will run faster. It also supports 4K Ultra HD Premium and HDR10 video and 10-bit color displays. That's roughly 1.07 billion colors versus like 16.8 million on 8-bit screens. So yeah, it's pretty fast. To talk about the faster wireless, which Snapdragon 835 features, it's a modem that supports X16 LTE, as Soso was speaking in the beginning, which equates to an absolute maximum of 1 gigabit 4G connection. You will rarely find that sort of speed anywhere in the world, but that improved modem will also help with more reliable, efficient connections on slower 4G networks, which actually means you are using the network more efficiently than other chips would use. And Qualcomm has also combined its various security bits and bobs into a second brand called Qualcomm Haven. This bolsters security in various ways, like including keeping track of suspicious application behaviors. Even if you ignore all the permission warnings your phone throws at you, like this app will use microphone. Why the calculator does need microphone, right? That's a little bit suspicious. You might just click accept, but the Haven will detect it. All right, and locking them down before they do any harm. So the Qualcomm will make sure these applications are not on your phone. This relies upon smartphone makers as well, basically, as well as any other things on the Qualcomm chip. So having an 835 phone does not guarantee you better security. It also depends on the phone processor. So let's talk about now a little bit about the audio of our Snapdragon chipset. So the 835 now supports the 32-bit 384 kilohertz audio DACs, which is digital to analog converters. So if your smartphone maker of choice decide to include one, you are in better off. We were huge fans of high-end DAC in the 820 powered HTC 10. If you have had any kind of HTC phones, you will know and notice this difference. So let's hope whatever phone HTC makes in the future, if they will use the Qualcomm, they will make sure to use it at its best, right? Now, from here, I will pass the presentation to Soso, and he will finish up.
Here again. Thank you, Nikoloz. So, and thank you. The Exynos processor is made by Samsung in-house for use with its own Samsung smartphones, with some exceptions. So this slide does not currently represent the topic I'm discussing right now, however, we'll get there. Snapdragon SoCs are made by the company Qualcomm for use in third-party mobile devices. The majority of smartphone makers use Snapdragon as the primary SoCs in their devices. Samsung uses Exynos processors for their Asian markets, whereas they use Snapdragon SoCs in Europe and North America. This distinction is because of a deal Samsung and Qualcomm have that compels Samsung to use Snapdragon in these locations. That's simple. No technical differences, nothing at all. So coming to the main differences, Exynos chips are usually octa-core, whereas Snapdragon chips are quad-core chips. While Exynos processors have more chips, Snapdragon chips can be overlooked and achieve much higher processing speeds than the Exynos ones. So overall, the processing power is balanced out between the two processors. The Exynos SoCs come equipped with Mali GPU, whereas the Snapdragon SoCs utilize the much faster Adreno GPUs in comparison. So GPUs are helpful in processing graphics. In terms of gaming, Snapdragon is the clear winner. So there's no competition here at all. All in all, we talked about how Snapdragon 835 works and talked about the details, speeds, and its physical structure, what is included, what pros and cons are within the chip. We also discussed its close relatives and compared it with Snapdragon 835. By concluding all the information and benchmarks, the fact today remains that Qualcomm microchips remain the kings of the hill in the gaming smartphone industry, with its small size, fast charging, efficient battery life, and speed of transfers, clocks, operations, etc. Hope you enjoyed our presentation about our micro friends and its relatives. We wish you Christmas, Merry Christmas,
Happy New Year, and a lot of Snapdragons.